it further, as we all know that Punjab is dealing with drug menace. Yes, a recent study by Punjab Health Department showed that more than 40% of those aged between 15 to 25 are addicts. Over 60% of households are affected by alcohol abuse. Our aim is to instill spiritual awakening in our patients with effective treatment. We request all of you to please pay attention on the screen. We present here the videos of our de-addiction centers that are successfully running under the guidance of Dr. Rajinder Singh ji since 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, our mission is in restoring good health to drug addict patients through our holistic approach. We request you to please pay attention on the screen. Thank you so much.
Known throughout the world. The Punjabis are known for their warm hospitality, honesty, and magnanimity. They take pride in having large cultivable fields and at least one son from the family in the armed forces. They are known throughout the world for their valor, patriotism, and sacrifices made to uphold peace and human dignity. Be it any occasion, Punjabis follow the mantra of work hard, party harder, quite literally. And this has opened up another doorway for these industrious people. A doorway to obscurity. Alcohol has always been a part of the Punjabi culture. The Punjabis love their drink and the world knows it. But as they say, excess of everything is bad. And this excess is leaving a lasting, bitter taste. As if this was not enough, a new breed of poison has slowly and steadily made its way into the veins of the youth. From easily available cough syrups and prescription pills to scored stuff of opioids and other narcotics, drugs have established a stronghold in Punjab. It almost seems like we have been hit by another invasion, albeit more silent, strong, and deadly.
ਸਕੌਟਰੀ ਜੋ ਮਰਜੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਬੁਲਾ ਲਓ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਰੱਖ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਨਾ ਜੱਟ ਭਰਥੂ ਪਾ ਦੂ ਭਰਥੂ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਭਰਥੂ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਬਈ ਭਰਥੂ ਉਹਦਾ ਫਸਲਾ ਹੈ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ
प्लस 2 पास होने तो बाद मैं कॉलेज च चला गया बी फार्मेसी करने के लिए तो उदों फैमिली वाले मैंने ये सोचते थे कि ये पढ़न लिखने वाला मुंडा है ये कदे गलत काम च नहीं जा सकता है जिस तरह का बंदा होंदा उहे जे उन्होंने दोस्त भी मिलने लग जाते हैं अगे मतलब कि उन्होंने पार्टियां च ड्रिंक वगैरह करते थे तो वो मैनू भी फोर्स करते कि कर तू भी करके देख एक बार ना करे एक बार करके देख ला डेली ना करया करी चलो एक दो बार मैं करके करी उन्होंने नाल स्टार्टिंग उत्थों स्टार्ट हो गया करना।
दुकानदारी के दौरान मेरा एक दोस्त हुंदा सी समैक पिया करता सी ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਮੈਕ ਛਡਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਚੱਕਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਖੁਦ ਸਮੈਕ ਪੀਣ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਉਹ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਵੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਪੀਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਕਸ਼ ਮਾਰ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਟਾਈਲ ਉਹਦਾ ਫੜਨ ਦਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਫੜ ਕੇ ਦੇਖ ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਅੱਛਾ ਲੱਗਣ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਪੀਤੀ ਦੂਜੀ ਵਾਰ ਪੀਤੀ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਬਸ ਟੋਟਲੀ ਸਮੈਕੀ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ
ਉਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸ਼ੌਂਕ ਲਈ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਡੇਲੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਡੇਲੀ ਤੇ ਆ ਗਏ ਡੇਲੀ 5-6 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਡੇਲੀ ਕਰਿਆ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਸ਼ੌਂਕ ਤੋਂ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਆਦਤ ਬਣ ਗਈ ਇੱਕ ਕਰਨੀ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਉੱਠਦੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਹੋਣਾ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਯਾਰ ਸ਼ੀਸ਼ੀ ਪੀਣੀ ਹੈ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਸਮੈਕ ਵੀ ਪੀ ਲੈਣੀ ਨਾਲ ਰੈਕਸਕੋਫ ਵੀ ਪੀ ਲੈਣੀ ਕੈਰੀ ਸੁਮਾ ਵੀ ਖਾ ਲੈਣੀਆਂ ਸਿਗਰਟ ਵੀ ਖਾਣੀ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਿ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਚੱਲ ਪਏ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ
ਪੈਸਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਖਰਚ ਕਰਤਾ ਜੇਬਰ ਵੇਚਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੁਕਾਨਦਾਰੀ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਤੱਕ ਜਲੀਲ ਵੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਪਿਆ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ।
ਔਰ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਿਟਰਲੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਟਰੀਟ ਕਰਨਾ। ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ 2-3 ਬਾਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਲਵਾਰ ਨਿਕਾਲ ਕੇ ਖੜੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਤੂੰ ਗਈ। ਉਹ ਦਿਨ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਬੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੈ।
The life of an addict is clear. The end is very near.
ਜਿਸ ਕੁਆਂਟੀਟੀ ਤੇ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਅਮਾਊਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਜੋ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਰੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਨਸ਼ਾ, ਸਮੈਕ, ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਨਸ਼ਾ, ਡਰਿੰਕ, ਸੁਲਫਾ, ਸਿਗਰਟ, ਹਰ ਭੁੱਕੀ, ਫੀਮ, ਜਰਦਾ, ਸਭ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ। ਇਹ ਨਸ਼ਾ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਟਰੀਟਮੈਂਟ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਛੱਡਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਨਾ ਉਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਪਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਟਰੀਟਮੈਂਟ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਬਸ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਇਹ ਨਸ਼ਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਜਾਊਗਾ, ਮੇਥੋਂ ਛੱਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹ।
वो बहुत मुश्किल टाइम था मेरे लिए, बहुत मुश्किल था, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जितने भी फेस्टिवल्स आते हैं वो सब हस्बैंड से रिलेटेड होते हैं, बच्चों से रिलेटेड होते हैं। और पहली बार ऐसा चांस था कि ये उसमें से किसी एक से भी मेरे साथ नहीं। उस दिन शायद मैं जिंदगी में सबसे ज्यादा रोई।
To contain and eventually erase this calamity that the whole family is in now, professional help is required, and help is available. Of all the de-addiction and rehabilitation centers currently functional, the largest de-addiction center being run by an NGO in rural Punjab is Akal De-Addiction and Rehabilitation Center. Started under the aegis of the Kalgidhar Trust, the center is located at village Chima, district Sangrur, Punjab, the birthplace of visionary saint Sant Atar Singh Ji Maharaj. Licensed by the government of Punjab for 30 beds in the inpatient department, the center is technically fully equipped, organized and staffed to support inpatients and outpatients. The center was started in July 2004 with Baba Iqbal Singh Ji's foresight and vision of making Punjab and nearby areas drug-free through a holistic approach. The center, housed in a spacious building of its own, has a lab facility and a qualified and competent team of medical and paramedical staff who take care of the patients and guide them and their loved ones to get rid of this life-wasting disease. The unique feature of Akal De-Addiction Center is the incorporation of spiritual therapy in conjunction to the modern medical approach. This blend of modern medicine and God's grace has produced amazing results in the patient's recovery and relapse. Typical day for an inpatient starts with getting up at Amrit Vela and after a bath, praying and reciting Gurbani under the guidance of a trained divinity teacher at the Darbar Sahib, which is housed inside the complex. A qualified yoga instructor guides the patients through a routine of exercises specially designed to rejuvenate their mind and body. This is followed by a small break and a healthy and nutritious breakfast. The patients are given some time to relax and rest, during which they can read newspapers, talk to each other, and engage in other activities. The paramedical staff then dispenses the medicines to the patients in an orderly manner and according to the latest therapeutic instructions by the doctors. The patients are then free to pursue an activity of their choice. This could be reading a book or a magazine which has been issued from the internal library, sit back and watch some television, or chat with other patients, or do some personal chores. The concept of self-help is implemented at the center, and the patients are encouraged to do their personal jobs such as washing their clothes and dishes, making their beds on their own, etc. Apart from the medical treatment, one-to-one counseling is done by expert psychologists. Group therapy is an integral part of the treatment and helps the patients remove their misconceptions related to addiction. As a group, they understand that they are not the only ones fighting this dreadful disease alone. And through sharing their feelings of suffering and torture, they feel mentally and emotionally strengthened. Lunch, like every meal, is served after the patients have offered prayers as a part of thanksgiving and expressing gratitude to the Almighty. An afternoon nap refreshes the patients and is followed by a round of the wards by the doctors who carefully examine each patient and give personal attention to each recovering addict. Evenings welcome the patients to more positive interactions in the form of indoor and outdoor games. The patients do not feel like a prisoner but enjoy life in ways which they had left far behind when they were on drugs. Humane treatment is the mantra followed at Akal De-Addiction Center. The patients are looked after with love and care. Their addiction is not taken as a shortcoming, but an affliction which has played havoc in their lives. Drug and alcohol de-addiction is a long-term process and does not end with the treatment at the center. Counseling is not limited to the patient alone, but also to the near and dear ones to make sure that the patient is comfortably eased into his family and society. Individual and group family counseling sessions are held regularly. When the patients are brought to the center, they are high and cannot make out right from wrong. They are violent and highly impulsive. Yet the trained medical and paramedical team at the center makes it a point to ease them and comfort them in the best way possible. The zeal to live is rekindled in their hearts and they start loving life again. This awareness needs to touch every heart and every family, as so many people are affected. Every little effort counts. A small seed planted today will blossom out tomorrow.
ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ 5 ਦਰਿਆ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਦਾ ਨਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਬਣਿਆ ਸੀ। ਅੱਜ 6ਵਾਂ ਦਰਿਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚੱਲ ਪਿਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਸ਼ਿਆਂ ਦਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੇ ਤਬਾਹ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਬੁੱਢੇ ਤੱਕ ਸਾਰੇ। ਇਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ? ਜਸਟ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ, ਇੱਕ ਡੀ ਐਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਖੋਲ੍ਹਿਆ ਚੀਵਾਂ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਲਗਭਗ 4000 ਮਰੀਜ਼ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਠੀਕ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ। ਉਹਦਾ ਟੈਕਨੀਕ ਕੀ ਆ? ਡਰੱਗ ਤੇ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਦਵਾਈਆਂ ਦੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਮਗਰ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਾਮ ਬਾਣੀ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਕਰਵਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸਵੇਰੇ ਵੀ ਉਠਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸ਼ਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਬਾਣੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਨੇ। ਸਪਿਰਚੁਅਲ ਵੈਲਿਊਜ਼ ਉਹਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ, ਰੂਹਾਨੀ ਤਾਕਤ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਆ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਰੀਏ। ਇਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਬੜਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਟੈਕਨੀਕ ਆ। ਅਸੀਂ ਡਰੱਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਪਿਰਚੁਅਲਿਟੀ ਜੋੜ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਰਮਾਨੈਂਟਲੀ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਨੇਕ ਅੱਛੇ ਬਣਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆਦਮੀ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਦੂਸਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਮੋਟੀਵੇਟ ਜਾਇਆ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਛੱਡੋ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ। ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਭਾਵ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਡਰੱਗਸ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰੂਹਾਨੀ ਤਾਕਤ ਵੀ ਬਾਟ ਵੀ ਅਗਰ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਏ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਡਰ ਭੈ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮਨ ਸਾਫ਼ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਔਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਦੂਸਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਹੀ ਪਰਉਪਕਾਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਸਾਡਾ ਤਜਰਬਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਜੋ ਡੀ ਐਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਦਾ ਕਿ ਲਗਭਗ 4000 ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਟ੍ਰੀਟ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਨਾਮ ਬਾਣੀ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਦੂਸਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਮੋਟੀਵੇਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਡਰੱਗ ਤੋਂ ਛੁਡਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਸ਼ਰਾਬਾਂ ਤੋਂ। ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਮੇਰਾ ਇਹ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਮੁਹਿੰਮ ਚਲਾਈਏ ਔਰ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ ਬਚਾਈਏ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ।
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what an inspiring documentary. They started their journey in 2004 with 30 beds, and now they've recovered more than 4,000 patients. I think that calls for a big round of applause, isn't it? And ladies and gentlemen, not only this, these two drug de-addiction centers are successfully running under the mentorship and guidance of Dr. Rajinder Singh ji. So can we give him a big round of applause, all of us? And now we'll be taking it further. Ladies and gentlemen, we have amongst us our honorable chief guest. Well, ladies and gentlemen, she retired in 2016 from PGI Chandigarh as Dean PGI and Professor Head Department of Psychiatry after 42 years of continuous service. She is known nationally, internationally for her academic excellence in psychiatry and child adolescent psychiatry. She served on many national committees and bodies involved in planning and policy making in the country. She's an author, speaker, recipient of several national and international awards. Please put your hands together for none other than Dr. Savita Malhotra. Ma'am, we request you to please come forward and grace this occasion with your words. Thank you. Can we have you, ma'am?
Good morning. It's my great pleasure and privilege to be here this morning with Dr. Colonel Rajinder Singh. Dr. Colonel Rajinder Singh has been my senior associate, colleague, and we were together in PGI several years ago, and a friend of long duration, long standing, and he invited today me here for the book launch. And that surprised me a little bit to know that Dr. Rajinder Singh, at this age of 91, young, he is writing books and is still so very active, energetic, and passionate. Actually, his energy and agility is something that really one wonders for, that defies his age. And he has kind of his passion about drug de-addiction and his service towards the amelioration of this menace and scourge in the society has been exemplary and of long-standing duration. We know that he served in the armed forces and for several years, and after getting relieved from the army, from services, he is basically dedicated himself to social service, social cause. He does charity work. He does, of course, works as a psychiatrist, kind of treating mental illnesses and addiction patients. And in addition, he's also an activist and an author. That is his kind of additional qualities and pursuits. And Dr. Rajinder Singh is such a pleasant, amiable, affable person. It's always a pleasure to meet with him, and he's so inspiring and full of energy. And he has chosen his field as drug de-addiction. Today is International Day for Drug Abuse, and it's a very fitting day for him to release his book on this day. And his book he's written is about beware and be aware of drug addiction. So he's warning on one hand, and also is trying us to kind of be aware of the difficulties and the problems related to use of substances in the society. And drug de-addiction is such a major issue, as has been highlighted also by the host, particularly in the state of Punjab and northern India, there is almost like an epidemic that we are struggling and dealing with. And it affects mostly the youth and the young people, because that is the age when they get initiated into drugs. What we saw in the documentary, कि जो शौक था, शौक से आदत पड़ गई. तो पहले तो शौक ही होता है, एक दूसरे के कहने से, peer pressure से they start experimenting with drugs, initially for recreation, for fun, for relaxation, for just being with each other in the group feeling. And then that becomes gradually, over a more regular and frequent use, becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, then it becomes a necessity. कि इसके बिना गुजारा नहीं होता. When you don't take the drug, then there are withdrawal symptoms, and which cause lot of distress and difficulty. And what happens is that the body gets accustomed, the brain gets accustomed, used to, and it causes changes in the brain that then it becomes kind of a major pursuit of the person, that everything that he wants to do in life is about procuring and using and administering drugs to himself. And then to the exclusion of all other things, responsibilities, social duties, activities, education, work, everything is kind of is left behind, and the person is totally engrossed in the drugs to the exclusion of all other responsibilities and social duties, and that is when it causes various kinds of diseases and premature death. And in addition to death, I mean, its effects on the society, on the family, are huge and tremendous. And I think all this is very amply kind of presented by Dr. Rajinder Singh in his work. And one is very impressed with the fact that he is taking the treatment of drug addiction not only on the basis of a medical model, that is treating it as a disease or as a psychosocial problem, but also on the spiritual and religious plane. That is something unique and something new. And so the awareness that is being created is in the terms of, what I hear, the Kalgidhar Trust and Akal Academy, they impart value education to children and youth. Value education and awareness, now put together, that becomes a kind of a very, very powerful and a potent combination for a wholesome recovery, a full recovery. Otherwise, it becomes a kind of a very sectorized kind of approach to drug addiction. But once you add the spiritual dimension, religious dimension, value education to medical treatment, it becomes, it becomes a kind of a very holistic improvement and approach to treatment. And that is something which is very special and unique about this de-addiction center and the services that Dr. Rajinder Singh has provided. I'm aware of another book, that Dr. Rajinder Singh has last year released. This is a kind of a much bigger book on drug addiction, information, and various aspects of drug addiction. And I will just kind of read a few lines from this. ਕਿ ਵਿਆਪਕ ਰੂਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਸਰੀ ਨਸ਼ਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਮਹਾਮਾਰੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰਮੁੱਖ ਸਮਾਜਿਕ ਤੇ ਸਿਹਤ ਸਮੱਸਿਆਵਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਹੈ। ਬੀਤੇ 3-4 ਦਹਾਕਿਆਂ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਚਲਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਭਾਰੀ ਉਛਾਲ ਆਇਆ ਹੈ। ਨਵੀਂ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਬੇਤਹਾਸ਼ਾ ਇਸ ਦਲਦਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸਦੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਚਿੰਤਾ ਦਾ ਵਿਸ਼ੇ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹਦੀ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਮਾਰ ਯੁਵਾ ਵਰਗ ਨੂੰ ਪੈ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਹੁਲਾਰੇ ਮਾਰਨ ਦੀ ਚਾਹ ਕਾਰਨ ਅਕਸਰ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਵਾਦੀ ਸਹੇੜ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਇਸ ਚੱਕਰਵਿਊਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਨਿਕਲਣਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਿਲ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਅੱਧੀ ਕੁ ਸਦੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਨਸ਼ਾ ਸੇਵਨ ਸਮਾਜ ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਛੋਟੇ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਜਾਂ ਵਰਗ ਤੱਕ ਹੀ ਸੀਮਿਤ ਸੀ। ਮਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਤਾਰ ਤਰੰਗਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਝਟ ਘੜੀ ਲਈ ਰਾਗਮਈ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਅਤੇ ਰੰਗੀਨ ਸੁਪਨੇ ਅਵਸਥਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਚਰਨ ਲਈ ਜਾਂ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਤਲਖ ਹਕੀਕਤਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਤਣਾਵਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਮੂੰਹ ਮੋੜਨ ਖਾਤਰ ਕੁਝ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਲੋਕ ਹੀ ਨਸ਼ਿਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਭੁੱਲ ਭੁਲਈਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਆਚਿਆ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਉਦੋਂ ਵਸੋਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡਾ ਵਰਗ ਨਸ਼ਾ ਸੇਵਨ ਨੂੰ ਐਬ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਰਹੇਜ਼ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਣ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ। Now this is what he has written, and this shows that his kind of commitment and passion, that how seriously and strongly he feels about the problem of addiction in the society. It's a big menace. Of course, it's not just to be treated or seen as a weakness or a moral deficit in the individual, that who is not able to abstain himself or keep himself away from the problem of substance use, but it's also to do with the availability, government policies and availability of all these drugs and substances. We need to have a much more concerted effort involving all aspects and all components of society and governance in dealing with this drug addiction problem. And apart from alcohol and opium, we have a new addiction around the corner, and that is cannabis and weed. latest fad about weed and cannabis is that it's been promoted as something safe, something harmless, something which doesn't cause any problems, and has medicinal values or use. And there is a huge lobby internationally that is promoting and wanting it to kind of make it easily accessible and then decriminalize. Decriminalization is one thing, but promoting it as a substance which is harmless is another, and should not be equated together. So that is, we are going to see the epidemic of weed, very cannabis use also in future times very soon. So these issues Dr. Rajinder Singh has, I have great amount of admiration and regard for Dr. Colonel Rajinder Singh, for his passion, for his energy, for his commitment, for his social service and selfless service, charitable work that he has done for years and years now and is continuing to do so. Writing a book and releasing it is no small joke. At his age, he defies his age actually, seeing his energy level. And I wish him all the best, and I congratulate him profusely for this occasion today and for this new book that he's launching. I am sure this book is going to help the society and our youngsters in learning more about the bad effects, causing awareness and sensitization, and refraining from the use of substances and drugs. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Dr. Rajinder Singh.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable words. We truly appreciate it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now the moment we've all been waiting for, yes, the book launch. But before that, I would like to take this wonderful opportunity to introduce you all to our author. Yes, Dr. Rajinder Singh ji, a former senior advisor in psychiatry and forces. He has written a book with the aim of starting a crusade against drug abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, the book titled Be Aware, Beware of Drugs contain information and education about the drugs. The drug abuse has adverse effects on individual, family and society. So it contains brief description of all the common drugs being abused by patients. Now let's move on. For the book launch, once again, would like to invite our honorable chief guest to please do the honors. With that, we would also request Sardar Hardyal Singh ji, Dr. Shubh Mohan ji, Dr. Neelam Kaur ji, Dr. K.L. Garg ji to please come forward and please launch the book. We would request Dr. Rajinder Singh ji to please do the honors with our chief guest and our guest of honors. Yes, sir. Please come. Join us on the dais. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for is here. Well, as we all know that drug is a big menace to the society, and initiatives like these are here to bring a change. A bigger round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Rajinder Singh ji, once again would like to thank you for your social work. People like you are very few in our country. I hope we had more of them so that we could bring a change little rapidly. Thank you so much. And now I would request Dr. Rajinder Singh ji to please come forward and share a few words. Sir, you can, it's your choice if you have to sit there and speak, that's fine. Yeah. Over to you, sir.
My dear Dr. Savita Malhotra, Honorable Hardyal Singh ji, former Financial Commissioner, Dr. Shubh Mohan, Dr. Garg, Dr. Adarsh Kohli, Dr. Neelam, and many others who I may not be able to take their names. I am very grateful all of you for coming here for the launch of a small book. This book concerns mainly the education or information, awareness about drugs. Almost every drug has been covered in this small book. But today is a very big occasion, that is the International Day Against Drugs and Illicit Trafficking. The theme is drug addiction, challenge in health, and human crises. There are two main human crises confronting the world now, especially Afghanistan and Ukraine war. So what is the position of drug addiction? It is compounding the, you see, the problem of drug. Just now, I think few days back, I was reading that in Afghanistan, which is the main producing country of opium, 90% of the world opium is cultivated there. And there is a 1,000-bedded hospital in Afghanistan, and the patients, number of patients admitted is 3,000. I mean, this Afghanistan is perhaps the biggest crisis country nowadays in the world, and it is facing a lot of problems, health problems, especially after the takeover of Taliban. We will discuss, I will discuss only two drugs, or talk about two drugs, tobacco and alcohol, to illustrate a fact that how devastating these drugs are. Tobacco is considered to be an innocuous substance. Many youth, many young people, they start just with cigarette smoking, and about 90% of them, they become addict in adulthood. This is a fact. The myth is that it is an innocuous. The reality is that it is responsible for death of 8 million people in the world. 80 lakhs people die in the world every year. And India contributes 10 lakhs every year. A single puff of cigarette contains 7,000 chemicals, and many of them are carcinogenic and highly toxic. The 8 million people who die, and 40% of the cancers which are associated with alcohol, I feel they are all preventable. It's a public health problem which is totally preventable. I may illustrate this. A GATS survey, that's a global adult tobacco survey, which was done first time in 2010, and the final, it was a report published in 2017. The incidence of smoking was reduced by 6%. It's from 34 to 28. I mean, the education and some measures taken by the government, they were so effective that the incidence of smoking came down 6% in 7 years. So this is the result of awareness and education of the people. Regarding alcohol, every 10 seconds, one person dies of alcohol. But the popular, you see, myth is that it is a very relaxing, you see, drug, and at the same time, it not only relaxes, one can really freely communicate and actively participate in festivities. The reality is that it is responsible for more than 200 physical diseases. both physical, neurological, and psychological problems. The amount of devastation it causes in the family and society we cannot describe. The sexual offenses committed under the influence of alcohol, they are beyond description. If we compare the COVID pandemic, in the last 2.5 years, COVID pandemic has claimed about 63 lakh throughout the world, whereas in the same period, a comparable period, more than 3 lakh and 70 crore people have died only due to tobacco and alcohol. For these two addictions, which are the gateway drug, every day 30,000 people are dying every day in the world. So this is a very important problem which should be known to everyone. In addition, one very astounding figure by NIDA, National Institute of Drug Abuse, USA, they have estimated the economic cost of drugs, which includes accidents, away from work, divorce, repair of work. They've estimated that around 740 billion US dollars they are spending every year, and this figure is increasing gradually. What will be the figure for India? It is beyond estimation. India, which is 4 times more populated than USA. India, which has 1/3 of the land area. And I will just illustrate this. The road accidents in the year 1920, 38,000 people died in the United States, whereas the figure for India is 1,38,000 people who died just because of road accidents. And 50% of the road accidents, they are associated with drug use, mainly alcohol. So these are the factors we should be aware of. Regarding the, you see, common prevalence notions about alcohol, they say that whiskey before beer is not risky, or beer before whiskey, no fear. I mean, this sort of convention parlor is very, very important. To tackle the problem of drug addiction, there are only 3 ways. One is to reduce the number of patients suffering from drug addiction. That is through admission in the drug addiction centers, which is a very expensive project. The psychiatrists are not available. The patients are chronic and they are relapsing, very difficult to treat. They are demotivated, and there are certain defenses which develop. For example, denial. Many of the patients, they deny that they are using harmful drugs. When they say everyone is using drugs, everyone is taking liquor. If I take, what is the harm? And rationalization and projection, the defense mechanism, they further hinder the progress or the treatment. Even the reporting of treatment is not possible because of the social stigma attached to these intoxicating drugs. The second way to reduce the drug is to reduce the availability of the drug. Availability of the drugs is mainly the function of politicians, the lawmakers, judiciary, and police. It's not easy to break the nexus of these people. So this area is almost beyond the medical purview. Now the third method, which is very important, is to reduce the demand of the drug. How to reduce the demand of the drug? Demand of the drug can only be reduced by producing men, boys, children who are so virtuous, who have certain moral values. They can resist and resist the temptation of peers and the intoxicating drug. This is the role of parents, teachers, and educators is very, very crucial. And you cannot teach unless you practice what you preach. This is the advice to the parents and the teachers, those who want to bring a change in the students they are tutoring, they are teaching. So this is very important area to prevent. This fits with the prevention is the best treatment. It's always better, far easier to stay out of drugs than to come out of it. The role of education is very important. This education is the most important weapon one can use to change the world. This is a quote by Nelson Mandela, which is very relevant here. I may illustrate this fact of education by, quoting examples of Kalgidhar Trust. Kalgidhar Trust is running more than 120 CBSE recognized schools, 2 universities, that has been mentioned, and in addition, an IB school, International Baccalaureate School. The methodology adopted there is the value-based education. And that value-based education has not only produced children and the students with high virtuous life and moral values. We know instances of these students. I remember one of the academy students of Kalgidhar Trust, he stopped going to his home. He wanted to stay in the academy itself because his father used to take drinks in the evening, which the child has understood is against values-based education. So ultimately he stopped going home till his father became abstinent. There are such glorious instances which are very common in the students who have been educated in Akal academies through value-based education. Unless there is some scientific breakthrough in the treatment of, drug addiction, the drug addiction will remain a problem. The de-addiction centers, the non-availability, the nexus which cannot be broken, the only perhaps method which is left is to educate them, to change to instill values in them in the early age, and to make them so, morally powerful, they can resist the temptation of drugs. This is, we feel, this is the best way. And de-addiction centers are very costly. They are very, almost because of the chronic relapses and chronic illness, the results are not very favorable. But the first step is that we have to take care of them. So, saying these words, I feel we must come together, make concerted efforts to bring about a change in the society, and a campaign for drug-free society. It's my earnest appeal to all of you, and especially to the youth, to come forward and render their service, volunteer or otherwise. Thank you so much. Namaskar. Vaheguru Khalsa.
Thank you so much, sir, for your words, your valuable insights that you've shared with us. We pay you highest tribute for your social service and recognizing the humanity in the fellow beings. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be taking it further. We've seen so many patients recovering, and from 30 beds, we've treated more than 4,000 patients. Now, I have someone amongst us who've gone through this. Yes, he's suffered and he's come out of this successfully. So I would like to introduce you all to them. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Gurvwinder Singh ji. He's from Saharanpur. Sir, can we have you here? And his brother Manpreet Singh has accompanied him. Yes, they've both been in this journey together, but Gurvwinder Singh has gone through the entire thing. Acha, you want to do a bite? Oh, bite ke baad we'll do it. Thank you so much. We would like to thank all our media professionals who've been here and made this moment memorable for all of us. Thank you so much for joining us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, we started with 30 beds and now we've treated more than 10,000 patients till date. So I think that calls for a big round of applause. So can we give a big round of applause for Kalgidhar Trust? And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a true story amongst us. Yes, a person who suffered and recovered. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have amongst us Gurvwinder Singh ji, and he'll be accompanied here by his brother Manpreet Singh ji. And they both will be sharing their journey. Can we have you please? People at the back, we request you to please pay attention and put your mobile phones on silent mode. Everybody, we request you to please pay attention. Please be with us on this. Thank you.
वैसे तो मेरी तबीयत थोड़ी ठीक नहीं सी, पर मैं इस सुभागा अवसर डॉक्टर साहब का खास करके ते उस परमात्मा का थैंक्स करने वास्ते मैंने इस तो कोई सुभागा अवसर नहीं जापदा सी कि मैं पब्लिकली आके डॉक्टर साहब का धन्यवाद करा। मेरे ब्रदर गुरविंदर सिंह लगभग 25 तो 30 साल पहले तो नशे के शिकार हुए सी। छोटी उम्र जी काम काज पै गए, चूँकि फादर साहब साढ़े ब्रेन ट्यूमर हो गया सी, उहदे नाल आईसाइट चली गई उन्होंने तो छोटी उम्र जी काम करन लग पे। ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का काम सी, ट्रकों का काम वैसे ही इन्ना अच्छा नहीं मनाया जाता इस लाइन का मतलब, बट इन्होंने काम सांभिया, 1 तो 2 ट्रक बनाए, काम अच्छा चलिया। पर समा ऐसा होया कि वो काम किमें ख़त्म होया पता ही नहीं लगा, किमें करजाई हो गए। जो हौली हौली पता लगा कि इन्हों नशे की हो गई है, मगर यह नहीं पता सी किहड़ा नशा करते हैं, क्योंकि पहले ड्रिंक करते सी, थोड़ी स्मैल आ जाती सी, बाद चों स्मैल भी नहीं आती सी। तो जो काम खत्म हो गया तो घर आके 1-2 दिन रुके, जो कोई पैसे वगैरह नहीं सी तो इन्हों की तबीयत बिगड़ गई एकदम अचानक। लगभग 20 साल पुरानी गल होएगी। तो इन्होंने फिट पैन लग पे एकदम। असी घर दे सारे घबरा गए, मदर, मैं, बाकी घर दे मैंबर। नाल नाल इन्हों बॉडी ते बिच्छू और सप रेंगते सी, वो बड़ा तकलीफ दे सी। जो कहते सी मैनू बिच्छू सप रेंग रहे हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा सी उदों। मतलब इन्हों का ट्रीटमेंट चंडीगढ़ च होया, प्राइवेट ट्रीटमेंट होया। 10 कुछ दिन 15 दिन रहे उत्थे प्राइवेट क्लीनिक ते रिकवरी हो गई। वो चीज़ों तो रिकवरी हुई। असी सोचा चलो हम थोड़ा ठीक हैं। काम काज देखा, परवाणू दे विच जॉब मिली इन्हों, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन लाइन ही सी। परवाणू इन्होंने काफ़ी साल 10-12 साल उत्थे काम किया। हिंदुस्तान लिवर लिमिटेड दे विच मिल गई सी जॉब, अच्छी जॉब सी। पर फिर उत्थे भी थोड़ी ड्रिंक करते सी। असी इन्हों मना करते सी ड्रिंक ना करो, ड्रिंक थोड़ी थोड़ी ज़्यादा भी होती सी, बट डॉक्टर नाल कंसल्ट किया, फिजिशियन सी जनरल, एल्कोहल छुड़ाने वाले नहीं सी, उन्होंने कहा 1-2 पैग ले लिया करन, कोई गल नहीं छुट जाएगी, एवें दा बंदा हौली हौली छड्डदा है। वो 1-2 पैग किवें 1-2 बॉटल से बदलियां और घर सारा स्पॉयल होया, खत्म होया, बच्चे वाइफ लड़ाइयाँ झगड़े, पर मानू तो फिर वापस चले गए सहारनपुर। सहारनपुर एक्चुअली साडा होम टाउन है, मैं इत्थे चंडीगढ़ ही होना। सहारनपुर फिर वही लड़ाई झगड़े वधदे चले गए, पता लगा कि PGI भी ट्रीटमेंट होंदा जी, एडिक्शन सेंटर है, उत्थे मैडिसन चलियाँ, पर मैडिसन जदों तक होंदियां सी उदों तक मैडिसन खा लियां, खत्म हुई, फिर पता है शराब हैगी या कुछ है जी, खा पी लिया उत्थे। मतलब कि क्योंकि प्रॉपर उत्थे एडमिशन नहीं सी ऐसे पेशेंट्स का, इस वजह नाल फिर उवें ही हालात बढ़ते चले गए। PGI दे विच उत्थे होर भी कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हैगियां ने जिन्हां दे बोर्ड लगे हुए हैं जो डी एडिक्शन सेंटर छुड़वाते हैं। मैं उन्होंने फोन पर किया, उन्होंने आओ तुसी काउंसलिंग होएगी तुहाडी, फैमिली नूं लियाओ, फैमिली मैं नाल चलदा सी, ये आंदे सी दूरों आंदे सी, काउंसलिंग हुई, काउंसलिंग दे नाल थोड़ा जिहा कुछ फर्क पैंदा सी, बट जो चीज़ इन्होंने अंदरों चाहिए वो ना मिले तो काउंसलिंग नाल सिर्फ नहीं हो सकता सी। काउंसलिंग फिर इन्होंने फिर भी ना छड्डी, फिर मैं उत्थे जिहड़े काउंसलर से उन्होंने कहा जी, कहते इन्होंने एडमिट करा दो, उन्होंने रैफर करता धर्मपुर, कहते धर्मपुर ही है प्राइवेट, उत्थे लै जाओ जी। मोरिंडा भी सी, वो जो महंगा है 35-40 हज़ार महीना, वो 18-20 हज़ार का सी। असीं धर्मपुर इन्हों लै गए जी, हुण खर्चा सी 4 महीने लाख रुपये लग गया जी ऑलमोस्ट। तो असीं फोन पर पुछया, कहते ने अजे 1 साल रहना पेगा इन्हों। असीं इन्होंने फोन करते सी, गल गुल ज़्यादा नहीं कराते सी, उन्होंने कहा जी अजे थोड़ा रुको है, कहते मैं ठीक हैगा। असीं क्या हुण ये कह रहे हैं ठीक हाँ, वैसे तो पेशेंट एवं ही कहता यूजली कि मैं ठीक हैगा। असीं इन्हों फिर भी लै आए, 1 महीना मेरे को चंडीगढ़ रहे, ठीक रहे, ड्रिंक नहीं की, बट काउंसलिंग मैंने ये दसिया गया कि फैमिली ना मतलब कि लड़ाई झगड़ा ना मिले या कुछ, पता नहीं की सरकमस्टेंस होए या की इन्हों की वाइफ मिले या जो भी आपस में थोड़ा जहा, तो वो थोड़ा जहा ना फिर तकरार हुई, फिर ड्रिंक करनी उन्होंने महीने बाद ही शुरू कर दी, चंडीगढ़ ही कर ली थी मेरे को। मैं भी हथ खड़े कर लिए थे, मैं मतलब पेरेंट को कहा कि बई हूँ नहीं, उन्होंने कहा सहारनपुर भेज दो, तो साढ़े को रहन घट्टो घट्ट तो खर्चा तो नहीं कोई है साढ़े को रही जान, पेरेंट्स को पेंशन आती थोड़ी जी, तो वो चलता रहता चलो। सो सहारनपुर चले गए, सहारनपुर फिर उही झगड़े लड़ाई झगड़े, मैनू मदर के फोन आन कि बई इन्हों का किमें किया जाए, कुछ हो सकता है। मैं क्या मैं कोशिश करना, मैं देखता पाया या कुछ, जब तक इन्हें रूहानियत नहीं जुड़न गए कुछ नहीं हो सकता। थोड़ा जिहा इन्हों ना उधर गुरुद्वारे वाल लगाओ, कहते हैं गुरुद्वारे कभी भी नहीं जाते, ना कभी इन्होंने पाठ किया ना कभी। तो फिर पता लगा इत्थे सब्बरवाल जी 13 वाले के थ्रू उन्होंने मिले, उन्होंने एकदम डॉक्टर साहब ने फोन किया, डॉक्टर साहब ने इमीडिएट बुलाया मैनू कि बई आओ दसो, इन्होंने सारी इन्हों की हिस्टरी लिखी तो दसिया, इमीडिएट इन्होंने चीमा साहब लैके आओ। असी इन्हों बड़ी मुश्किल कन्विंस किया, क्योंकि ऐसा बंदा सोचता कि मैं तो बिल्कुल ठीक है, मैंने तो कुछ भी नहीं होया, और लड़ाई पूरी, तेन मार दांगा, ये वो ऐसी चीज़ां चलती थी। मैं थोड़ा जहा काउंसलिंग देखी सी, मैं TV होर भी मोटिवेशनल प्रोग्राम देखे हुए सी, लाइक आमिर खान का आया सी डी एडिक्शन के उत्ते, वो बहुत अच्छा प्रोग्राम सी। मैनू पता सी कि ऐसे ने एवें करना ही है, पर मैं कन्विंस किया, मैं क्या मेरे नाल चलो, मैं तुहानूं उत्थे जो जिहड़ी कहोगे मैं तुहानूं दांगा ड्रिंक बोतल जिहड़ी चाहिए है, मेरे नाल रो इत्थे, क्योंकि घर कलेश पै रहा, मदर पेरेंट्स का जीना हराम होया होया। तो मेरे नाल चंडीगढ़ ही आना सी, मैं इन्होंने चीमा साहब लै गया। चीमा साहब उत्थे रहे, उन्होंने एडमिट किया, उन्होंने बड़ा फेवरेबल सी, उन्होंने सिर्फ इन्हों के सामने किया 1 हफ्ते वास्ते रखना, असी ज़्यादा नहीं तो बंदा डर जाता कि यार मैं महीना 2 महीने 6 महीने वास्ते, फिर उत्थे मैं टक्या गया। 1 हफ्ते वास्ते भी इन्होंने कहा 1 हफ्ता मेरा जाना कोई नहीं। 1 हफ्ते बाद गल की, इन्होंने कहा थोड़ा जहा मैनू फर्क है, मैनू थोड़ा रहना है। 15 दिन होए, 15 दिन बाद गल हुई, कहते मैं बिल्कुल ठीक है, मैनू लै जाओ। सानू विश्वास ही ना हो 15 दिन कि मैं ठीक हो गए, ऐसा बंदा कहेगा जी मैनू लै जाओ जी। फिर महीना होया, महीना तो बाद उतों फोन आ गया जी थोड़े ठीक है ने, तुसीं ले जा सकते हो। मैं हैरानी बड़ी सी कि यार ठीक किवें, मतलब कि इन्नी जल्दी हो गया, और महीने बाद फिर इन्होंने शुरू कर देनी, असीं चाहते थोड़ा रुको। फिर 10 दिन बीते, 40 दिन हो गए, उन्होंने फोन आया जी तुसीं इन्हों ले जा सकते हो। असीं गए, मैं क्या देखा, देख के हैरान हो गए, वेट और बिल्कुल ग्लो आया सी, बिल्कुल पहले तो सुक्के बिल्कुल हो गए सी, किडनी और फंक्शन थोड़े वीक हो गए सी, खाना पीना छुट गया सी, ड्रिंकिंग जो होता है यूजली सारे की स्टोरी हैगी। बाकी फिर ਉੱਥੇ ਜੋ ਟ੍ਰੀਟਮੈਂਟ ਚੱਲਿਆ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਫੇਵਰੇਬਲ, ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਅੱਛੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਰੂਹਾਨੀਅਤ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜਿਆ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਕਦੀ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ, ਕਦੀ ਪਾਠ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉਹ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਜੁੜ ਗਿਆ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਘਰ ਆਏ ਜੀ, ਸਵੇਰੇ 5 ਵਜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਉੱਠ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁੱਤੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ਼ਨਾਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, ਪਾਠ ਕਰਨਾ ਜੀ। ਦੁਪਹਿਰੀ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ, ਸ਼ਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਪਾਠ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ, ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਦੂਜੇ ਕਮਰੇ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਗੁਟਕਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਮਦਰ ਪੇਰੈਂਟ ਹੈ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚੋਂ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ, ਪਾਠ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ ਨੇ, ਘਰ 'ਚ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, ਇਹੋ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਸਾਡਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਠੀਕ ਹੈਗਾ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਅਖੀਰ 'ਚ ਆਈਓ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਇੰਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਨ ਦੁਗੀਆਂ ਰਾਤ ਚੁਗਣੀਆਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਚੱਲੇ ਅਤੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੰਦਰੁਸਤ ਰਹਿਣ, ਇਹੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਕਾਮਨਾ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Thank you so much. That was motivating and inspiring. And now to conclude this event, I would request Dr. Neelam Kaur, Advisor, Health and Education at Kalgidhar Trust, to please come forward and deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello. Thank you very much, and I extend my humble gratitude to each one of you by spending time with us for this noble cause. And just to tell you a brief history that how it all started. It started in late 19th when Dr. Colonel Rajinder Singh ji, he retired from armed forces and he came under the fold of Baba Iqbal Singh ji. The spirit and a sense behind all what you see here in a Kalgidhar Trust and as well as in the de-addiction services. So he got inspired from him and started the first center in early 2000 at Chima Sahib, which was like on the basis of Alcohol Anonymous. So this center was in the mud, ਜਿਹਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਟੋਬਾ ਸੀਗਾ, not even ਉਹ ਹਲੇ ਵੀ ਟੋਬਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ, but it eventually happened to be a center which has treated more than 10,000 patients in the last almost 2 decades. And we started another center at Badu Sahib, this is in Sirmaur, Himachal Pradesh. And now we hope to launch a third center near Chandigarh, that is, which is not only a de-addiction center, but also will have a blend of like awareness and outreach campaign, and also a research center. So here we seek support, guidance from all of you, part-time volunteers, full-time volunteers. Your donations will mean a lot to us. Because this is just the beginning. The center has been, already the foundation stone has been laid, but the construction work has not started as yet. So, and at the same time, we humbly invite you to come and visit us at Badu Sahib and also at Chima Sahib to see the humble work which this organization is doing. And thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your words, and I would also like to thank Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Guest of Honors. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us, giving us your time, extending your support to this event. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. You've given us your valuable time today. We request all of you to please join us for lunch. We're breaking for lunch. Thank you so much. Yeah.
बढ़िया सर।